Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. St. Lucia's Prime Minister did not hold back on his peppery scolding of current leader of the opposition over a Taiwan loan ahead of last election. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Tuesday, 19th July 2022. Details when we return.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. The work and integrity of senior level professionals employed in the public service came into focus during the July 12th sitting of the Lower House of Assembly in St. Lucia. Prime Minister Philip J. Pearce, citing documented reports from the Finance Ministry, was able to set the record straight and preserve the integrity of the policy makers advising the Cabinet. Riani Isidore of DBS News World reports.
The integrity of senior-level professionals employed in the public service briefly came into focus during the July 12th sitting of the Lower House of Assembly. In response to questionable claims from the leader of the opposition surrounding the supposed intent of a U.S. $10 million loan from the Export-Import Bank of the Republic of China on Taiwan, Prime Minister Philip J. Pearce, citing documented reports from the Finance Ministry, was able to set the record straight and preserve the integrity of the policy makers advising the Cabinet.
But, Mr. Speaker, you had the leader of the opposition come here and said to you that he had $10 million for St. Jude. The money from the Exim Bank was for St. Jude, Mr. Speaker. And I really feel sorry for the technocrats who worked with the Minister for Finance. I feel sorry for them. You know, I feel sorry for them because if I were in their place and I would see somebody stand up and he said that's completely not true, I'd be able to say something. But they are professionals, so they say nothing. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you how the $10 million had to be spent by this leader of the opposition. And why we had to repurpose it, Mr. Speaker. That was the $10 million he had for election purposes. That was the $10 million he had construction, rehabilitation of concrete roads and drains to include general infrastructure, utility retaining walls, fabrication of rails and handicap access, repairs and renovations to courts, parks and community facilities. He had in that $14 million for election purposes, and he was afraid to come to this honorable house because he was afraid to come to borrow because he knew if he had come, he would have got stiff opposition, Mr. Speaker. So he backfired on that. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, here's how he spent that money. He spent that money, Mr. Speaker, he proposed to spend it, Mr. Speaker, he proposed to spend it on geothermal study for police headquarters, designs for police headquarters, site preparations for police headquarters, and importation of 1,000 LED lights. And he comes here, Mr. Speaker, stands on his 2 feet that God gave him, and says that money was for St. Jude. Mr. Speaker, Boris Johnson could not do so badly.
After a series of productive engagements with senior public officials since coming into office last July, Honorable Pearce has sought to distinguish his leadership style from that of his immediate predecessor. The Prime Minister told the lower house that he employs a more consultative approach with the policymakers. From the office of the Prime Minister, Riani Isidore.
Trade unions are calling for wage negotiations with the Chief Personnel Officer to resume. Friday, union officials delivered a copy of their motion of no confidence in the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago to the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. Union leaders are also calling on the government to be less arrogant to workers. More from TV6's Elizabeth Williams.
It
Barbados Prime Minister is looking at measures and ways and means in terms of how they could assist, right, the population in Barbados as it relates to the high cost of living that they recognize. The question is why it is this government cannot do that, or why it is that this government is so arrogant that they do not even want to engage the trade union movement in those kinds of discussions. That
Joint the Trade Union Movement President Ansel Roger said the meeting on Friday with the Chief Secretary was both productive and meaningful, and the Chief Secretary has given his support.
Your question increased costs of fuel. The issue of privatization of the port, both Port of Port of Spain and Port of Scarborough, the privatization of state assets, and the many thousands of workers who would have lost their jobs, and workers continuing to lose their jobs.
Michael Anisette, NATOC's General Secretary, said the promised resumption of negotiations with the CPO starting July 14th has not occurred.
Outstanding negotiation with PTSC workers, MTS workers, port workers, postal workers, and Lake Ashford workers, WASA workers, and I can go on TSTP workers, T&TEP workers, the sanitary workers, and the list go on and on. I think that is rather, small-minded and senseless and insensitive that you started a negotiation and the very government and cabinet who makes the decision and the Minister of Finance in terms of wages and other remunerations. But you choose to start negotiations with only the CPO employees who fall under the remit of the CPO and forget about the other government statutory bodies and enterprises. It doesn't make sense.
Anisette said the standard of every worker must rise.
And the offer of the 4% and the 2% was an offer of stagnation of workers' ability to buy goods and services in Trinidad and Tobago.
Roger said the country lacks good governance.
The government is not responding to anything at all, which is why the country continues to go down and down and down. But I can guarantee you, we have had overwhelming support from the citizens wherever we put these issues out. And we have had 2 motorcades so far. We are coming to Tobago with motorcade. I'm not at liberty to say when that will be today, but rest assured, this struggle will take us across the length and breadth of both Trinidad and Tobago.
So far, letters of no confidence in the Prime Minister have been delivered to the President, the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, the Leader of the Opposition, and the THA Chief Secretary, with the next to stop the Chairman of CARICOM. Elizabeth Williams, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Two motions intended essentially to have the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago express no confidence in the Attorney General have failed. One attorney describes the votes on both motions as having been closed during the Law Association's special general meeting at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Port of Spain. Jewel Brown of TV6 News reports.
The really went on Friday did not deter attorneys who wanted to cast their votes in support of or against a motion of no confidence in Senior Counsel Reginald Lamour as Attorney General by the Law Association at the Hyatt Regency Hotel on Friday. There was another motion that called for his resignation as AG. The media was allowed to record the attorneys arriving for the meeting, but were not allowed to record the meeting itself. The motion of no confidence stems from a controversy surrounding Attorney General Lamour and Trinidad and Tobago's representation at the Piaco Airport corruption matter in Miami, something that prompted calls from the opposition for him to either resign as AG or for the Prime Minister to fire him from the cabinet. After the meeting, the Law Association's Vice President spoke with the media about the result of the vote by the attorneys who attended the association's special general meeting.
The LATT's membership deliberated on the following matters. 1. That the Law Association Trinidad and Tobago do express no confidence in the Honorable Attorney General, Mr. Armour SC. And 2. to resolve that the Law Association do call upon the Honorable Attorney General, Mr. Reginald Armour, Senior Counsel, to immediately resign as Attorney General of Tobago. In relation to the above-mentioned resolutions, the outcome of the vote is as follows. In relation to Resolution 1, 317 persons voted against it, 234 persons voted in favor of the resolution, so the resolution was not carried.
You also gave details on the vote for the second resolution.
310 persons voted against it, and 241 persons voted for the resolution. So in relation to the second resolution, and in fact both resolutions, both motions failed.
Also speaking with the media was Kartak Lal Singh, one of the attorneys who hoped the motions would have been successful.
Today, there was some success. We were able to get the Attorney General to appear before us. That did not happen on the last occasion when an Attorney General when a no confidence motion had been brought. This Attorney General came, he was contrite, he apologized to the members of the Law Association, and that may have swayed the vote. We won't know. But at the end of the day, we think that holding him to account in some form and fashion, we achieved our purpose.
Jewel Brown, TV6 News.
Up to July 11th, Jamaica is recorded as having the 6th highest cost of fuel in the Caribbean. More in this TVJ News item with Javon Keys.
Of the 162 countries ranked by the website globalpetrolprices.com, Jamaica had the 54th highest gas prices for the period up to July 11. Petrol locally costs an average $1.73 US per litre. That positions Jamaica 6th in the region for the highest gas prices, behind Cayman, the Bahamas, Aruba, and Belize. Barbados had the highest petrol prices in the region, costing an average $2.34 US. That country has the 7th highest cost per litre for gas in the world. Haiti has the lowest fuel prices in the region, which is being sold for an average 57 cents US per litre, followed by Trinidad and Tobago and Suriname. With fuel costing an average $3.02 US, Hong Kong tops the ranking for the highest petrol prices in the world, followed by Iceland and Norway, while the cheapest fuel is being sold in Venezuela, costing US 2 cents per litre. Other oil producers Libya and Iran round out the top 3 cheapest countries. Looking at major global powers, the United States ranked 105th, with fuel prices going for an average $1.30 US per litre. The United Kingdom was 13th, going for $2.27, while China was at 91, with gas prices going for an average $1.40 US. For the business day, I'm Javon Keys.
27 of some 894 children reported missing in Jamaica last year were confirmed dead, according to Economic and Social Survey, Jamaica 2021 edition.
An annual publication of the Planning Institute of Jamaica said a total of 1,467 people were reported missing across the country last year, of which 894 were children, who made up the vast majority of missing persons, accounting for 60.9% of the number. In another matter, the number of persons reported missing overall decreased by 9.2% from 1,615 in 2020 to 1,467 last year. The report further revealed that females accounted for 63.1% of missing persons. By the end of 2021, 749 missing persons had returned home, with 67.4% being children, while 27 were confirmed dead and 691 were still missing.
Hubbard's Multi-Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.